Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori and today we have on Fire Chief Dan Sullivan. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll just dive right into it. You're still relatively new chief. You got inaugurated back in January, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's only been a few months. It's been a lot thrown at me, so I'm learning a lot. I'm truly liking the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always good to like your job, right?
Yeah.
And as you're going into it, I've heard a little bit about what you've talked about, like your mental health initiatives, certain things, but what would you say are sort of your goals for chief?
So I guess every chief or every firefighter has a goal of safety. We want to make sure that our friends go home to their families, and more importantly, are there tomorrow. Right? It's not just going home; it's being able to get to the next day. So some of the things we've been working on is increasing the range of classes that we're preparing the firefighters for. So safety and survival classes, not just fire extinguishment, or forcible entry, but what can they do to help protect themselves. Some of the other things that we're looking at is data collection. So, we're in a time now where knowledge is power, and if you don't have the information to go to the city to, ask for specific resources, then, I don't think we stand a chance. So, having the right numbers to have an educated discussion about. We're also looking at increasing the way, or changing the way we think about responses. So there's a movement throughout the country to, instead of just police and fire, to go to emergency calls after 911 is dialed. We'd like to get to the people before they're injured, or sick or hurt. So looking at different models, different ways of, doing that, whether it be going out and knocking on doors or checking on your neighbor, things like that, making sure that, the lighting in their home is appropriate, that there's no loose carpeting, so that no one trips. Obviously that their smoke detectors and stuff are working. So things like that. Those are pretty basic initiatives, but I think if we start at the basics, then we can work from there.
Mm-hmm. And they're important initiatives too, because it also helps you get more involved with the community as well, so they might know you a little bit better, which would also help.
Yeah, so I've been trying to get out as much as I can. Anytime I see an event from the city, if my calendar allows, then I'd like to go and just meet the people. I think in the beginning of your career, you should be selfish, right? You should learn the job. You should learn how you can operate to better serve the community. And then once you learn the job, now it's time to start to give back. And that's where you start getting, at least for myself, I start getting back out into the community. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Because you teach at the Fire Academy as well, correct?
Yeah, so it was close to 15 years ago. I was actually taking a class, and the instructor came up and asked if I wanted to teach at some point. And I made the comment, I wanted to make sure I had enough experience. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time, I probably had 11, 12 years on the job. And he thought that was enough, but in my mind, it didn't. Because, you look at, the academy instructors, like, you really look up to them. And I wasn't sure I was at that point in my career. But I did. I started teaching there and found a new passion to just help give back. I said, I truly don't even know how much money I make there. It's more about giving back to the fire community in that way, and help prepare some of the new firefighters for the challenges that they're going to face.
Mm-hmm. And as I'll kind of transition a little back to as chief, what would you say are I know every day is different for you, but typically what's sort of a day-to-day thing for you?
It's funny at how overwhelming it can be. So one minute you're talking, something that makes everybody happy, another minute you're talking about something that makes people sad, then you're talking about budget issues, you're talking about, procedural issues. It seems like almost minute to minute your focus changes. Unlike, what you've been, or what I've prepared for was to fix an emergency, right? So go there, spend whatever time it is to fix that emergency, and then you get to decompress. With this one, your day is constantly, bouncing from one subject to the next. And I would say that's probably my biggest challenge, is just learning how to navigate the day. But I truly am enjoying the challenge of it all.
It's always good when you're enjoying it too. And you've spoken a bit about how important in support of your family has been as well. So how do you find that balance between work and personal life?
Yeah, so before I accepted the position, we had a discussion and said, for the next, few years, we're going to have to look for time to set aside. So right now it's, we'll spend at least one day a week with the family. I'm trying for one day a week, like a weekend, I should say, to teach at the fire academy, and then the 5 days a week is for the community. Does that mean that I turn the phones off on the weekend? No. I can say my wife and I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. 3:30. We're out the door by 4:30 to go for either a walk or a jog. So we do that faithfully every morning, rain, snow, sleet, whatever. And I guess that's the quiet time. It's dark. We go through the woods. We use the headlamps, but you see the wildlife, you see the deer, you see the coyotes, the rabbits, and I guess that's a good start to the day. And then on the weekends, if we're out for a hike or something and you get a phone call, I guess you're already, out in nature, and it just makes it go a lot smoother, less stressful.
Definitely. And how long, I probably should have asked this earlier, but how long actually have you been involved, like being a firefighter, moving up the ranks? How long have you?
So this is coming on 27 years. I got hired in 1996. And I guess you never think that you're prepared. It was about 8 years before I made lieutenant. I think I was in as a lieutenant for maybe 5 or 6 years. Then I made captain, and I spent a few years at each level. Most recently, I was the acting deputy, only for a couple months. So the transition into this role, I didn't have much time to prepare, but Chief Archer has been great. So anytime I have a question, he's, right there. I'll send him a text and ask if he can take a quick phone call, and he's right there to help out. So that fire family, doesn't end, in retirement.
You've been in Lynn your entire career.
I was born and raised in Lynn. I grew up over in West Lynn, and now I live up over in East Lynn, right off of Highland Ave, or Weston Ave, really, right over by Buchanan Bridge. So we'll never leave. It's a big city with a small a small city mentality. So even though we have, well over 100,000 people in the city, you seem to know everybody. You go to, an event, a running event or a baseball game or something like that, and half the people there. So it's nice. It's nice.
And one of the things I'll ask you is, for anyone who's thinking of maybe entering into a career as a firefighter, so what would you maybe say to them that you wish someone had given to you?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the things that I would like to do for the community once I get my feet underneath me is just to help the community navigate the civil service system, not just become a firefighter. So one of the things I'd like to do is get some representatives from the police department, the postal service, the our fire alarm. So civil service is a division of the state that manages the testing process for us to get these types of jobs. And not very many people know how to do it unless you know someone in one of these jobs. Well, there are plenty of people out there that are deserving of these and just don't know how to get there. So I'd like to help by introducing them to the system, help them prepare for whatever test they want. To get back to your original question, if people are interested in the fire service, I would say it's unlike the past where people thought it was just strength and a little bit of knowledge. There's a lot now. The things that burn, the emergencies that we go to are very challenging. So if I would say to the people that are in school, study hard. You have to exercise. It's definitely a physical job. Like I said, 27 years, and my job right now is just to, go get money for the department and point. If we're at a fire scene, I still exercise because it's been ingrained into me over the past 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm. And I know we wrap up in a minute, but is there anything that I haven't asked about or anything I didn't touch on that you wanted to discuss?
No, I would just want the community to know that I'm approachable. Where, I try to get out into the community and see different people, the different organizations that are going on. And that's, I guess, something that I feel bad that I hadn't done it up until, the past few months. Obviously, you see certain organizations, but you don't see the full range of, things that the city has to offer. And by going to, these events, I'm meeting a lot of really good people and, and making a lot of really good friends.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I want to thank you again for coming on to talk about these experiences and share that with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. And once again, I'm Dani Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests.